Hi guys, Raz here. Welcome to my 6.2 Mistweaver guide. Today we're going to be talking about rotation, talents, glyphs, and stats to get you on the way to healing raids such as Hellfire Citadel. So let's begin with the basics. With the Mistweaver you have two stances. You have the stance of the Wise Serpent, which increases your healing done by 20% and improves the functionality of Crackling Jade Lightning and Spinning Crane Kick. As your second stance, you have Stance of the Spirited Crane, which improves the functionality of Surging Mist, Blackout Kick, and Crackling Jade Lightning. While in this stance, you will gain Eminence. Now, Eminence is really important for fist weaving when you're in this stance, because Eminence says that 50% of all your damage you deal with your melee attacks and abilities, including multi-strikes, will be converted into healing on an injured ally with 20 yards. I'll talk about fist weaving later, but let's try and stick to the basic rotation with Stance of the Wise Serpent. Now, your most important abilities for Mist Weaving are Renewing Mist, Expel Harm, Soothing Mist, Surging Mist, and Enveloping Mist, as well as your Uplift, and then you have some cooldowns such as Life Cocoon and Revival. To understand the basics of Mistweaver, you got to know that at all times, whether you're fist weaving or mist weaving, you need to have your Jade Serpent statue out. So before the start of a fight, I would summon your Jade Serpent statue because it is going to help you heal. So while in Serpent Stance, it will help you heal an extra player. So for example, if I'm healing this guy with my Surging Mist, it will channel Surging Mist either on me or a nearby injured ally. Now, with Renewing Mist surrounds the target with a healing mist, restoring 13,000 health, depending on how much spell power you have, over 20 seconds, and generating 1 chi, which is quite important. Each time Renewing Mist heals, it also travels to the most injured ally within 40 yards up to 2 times. So if I cast it on myself, or this dummy, you will see it had 1 stack, and then it turns to the next stack. And you can see it here on my Renewing Mist tracker. It's only got me, but really it should have the dummy as well. What is really great is, since we have our new improvement on Renewing Mist, we also have that it jumps to more than 2 people. So you can have 1 Renewing Mist on 3 people actually. With Expel Harm, you can glyph it to heal other people, but really it's mainly for you, and using Power Strikes it will generate 2 chi. Soothing Mist is a channeled ability, which is going to be your filler. Now, while you're channeling Soothing Mist, your Surging Mist and your Enveloping Mist are both instant. Surging Mist is a pure single target heal, which should be only used sparingly or in times of single target heavy healing. And your Enveloping Mist is great when somebody is low, because while you've got it on, and if you have 3 chi to use it, they also get something called Enveloping Mist, which heals the target for 13,000 and increases your healing of Soothing Mist by 30%. So if you are doing Gorefiend and you need to heal up the spirits inside his belly, it's quite helpful to have that on them, because while you're healing them and your statue are healing them, it can be quite helpful. Let's move on to talents. So with talents, at the moment I'm running with Celerity, but you can also choose Tiger's Lust. Your level 15 really just helps you with your movement. Now, Celerity is really good in case you're using Chi Torpedo, which I don't use very often, but I was last night while we were raiding. Tiger's Lust is great for that on-demand quick getaway, or moving into some people if you need to, say, cast Revival, seeing as it now has a 40-yard range. With Celerity, however, your roll, or in my case, my Chi Torpedo, has 3 stacks. That means I can do it 3 times instead of just the normal twice. In your level 33 talents, you have Chi Wave, Zen Sphere, and Chi Burst. Now, all of these have been good at one point in time. However, I prefer to go with Chi Burst because although you need everyone to be stacked, it does damage, a decent amount of damage and a decent amount of healing, and there are a lot of phases where being able to just throw it out and heal a group of players has been really helpful. With your level 45 talents, you have some choice. Now, I prefer power strikes because every 15 seconds my jab, spring crane kick, expel harm, or surging mist generates an additional chi or chi sphere if already at maximum chi. Now the reason why I use this is because I just find it really stabilizes the rotation. It works for my playstyle, so you really need to be playing around with it and see what works for you. Ascension is kind of crappy. It does increase your maximum chi by 1, but it doesn't help you really generate chi, whereas the other 2 options do. It does, however, increase your spirit by 10% and your energy regeneration by 15%. So that's quite good if you are looking to make most use of Mana Tea. But once you get to Hellfire Citadel, you should probably have enough gear that becomes void. Chi Brew is great. I don't really like it for my particular play style, but it instantly restores 2 chi and generates 1 stack of Mana Tea and has 2 charges, which obviously regenerate at the same time. So this is great for on-demand healing when you really need that 2 chi, and there are some times when using power strikes where you feel like I'm missing exactly what I need, and you need to Soothing Mist and Surging Mist to generate your chi. However, healing is healing, and it always gets the job done for me. I feel like it's a much smoother rotation. Level 60, Leg Sweep, Ring of Peace, and Charging Oxwave are kind of crappy these days. Leg Sweep is the go-to. It does have a range on it, so you do have to position yourself for it, but it just encourages better play. Level 70 is really your defensives. You won't make as much use of healing elixirs as, say, a Brewmaster would, and generally it's quite weak. In this tier, you really just need to decide, are you going to be facing physical or magic, in which case pick one of these 2 and use it at the same time. They're practically the same spell, just one for magic and one for physical. Now with your level 90 talents, this is where it starts to get a bit more interesting. I usually always take Rushing Jade Wind because I've found that... Oh, it's not wanting to work for me today. Okay, well, Rushing Jade Wind replaces your Spinning Crane Kick. And as you see, Spinning Crane Kick, you kind of have to channel and you can't do anything else. It does similar amounts of healing. Rushing Jade Wind obviously does a bit more. But the best thing about Rushing Jade Wind is if you guys are stacked up, you can just cast it and then continue casting your other spells. Now with Mana Tea, which I'll get into a bit later, the best thing I've found is to just chuck down a Rushing Jade Wind and then start drinking my tea. That way I know I'm still healing for a decent amount, especially in stacked situations, and I can just drink my tea while I'm still putting out a decent amount of healing. Zuen is great for fist weaving and 5-man content, but for raids with the 3-minute cooldown, it just really doesn't deliver enough. I would say about Rushing Jade Wind, it does cost a lot of mana, so you do have to be a bit careful about that and know when and when not to use it. I was using Chi Torpedo this week and just playing around with it a little bit because there was a fight with lots of movement with Iron Reaver. Everyone was spread out, and it's pretty good just to be able to roll where you were going to roll anyway and heal people along the way. With a little trick with Chi Torpedo is if you jump and then cast it, you won't actually move the full distance. So if you guys are stacked up, to cast it and jump at the same time will let you not move as far as you say you would, because you do have to worry about moving into the wrong position. Level 100 talents. We've got Breath of the Serpent, Chi Explosion, and Pools of Mist. There is something to be said about Chi Explosion, however, your go-to will be Pools of Mist. I just find this one so strong at the moment, and it's a completely different playstyle to Chi Explosion, and in the environment that we are in with Hellfire Citadel, I just think Pools of Mist really delivers. Breath of the Serpent, it's really positionally required. I think in Gorfiend, when you were stacking up during the Spirit phase, it could be quite good as an extra raid-wide cooldown, and it does do a significant amount of healing. However, I just don't think it has the utility, being on a 1.5 minute cooldown, that Pool of Mist does, especially seeing as in Hellfire Citadel we're usually spread out, and this will only be situational. Chi Explosion completely changes your rotation. I'm not going to go into it too much. However, it does different things at depending on how much Chi you use to activate it. It usually replaces your Enveloping Mist and will allow you to heal an ally for 14,000 plus and put the dot on them. If you're using 2 Chi, and with 1 Chi it just heals you for 14,000. With 3 Chi it does an AoE heal, but it has to be stacked, and with 4 Chi it also summons 8 healing spheres. So if you are using Chi Explosion, you're going to be using a lot of detonate Chi, especially in stacked areas. However, again, Hellfire Citadel, I find everyone's too spread out and it's not really doing the job. However, Pooling Mists is by far my favorite talent that Mistweavers have, because it allows your Renewing Mist to have 3 charges and increases the healing done by Renewing Mist by an extra 15%. As you can see, I've got my 3 charges down here, and what it does, when you're Fist Weaving, it also increases, it gives your Rising Sun Kick 3 charges, and the damage is increased by 50%. Like, who doesn't want extra damage when they're Fist Weaving for that little bit of extra output? Now, using these talents, it does change the way you play. Again, as I said, if it would let me, I would much rather be using Rushing Jadewind, but we'll stick with Chi Torpedo for the moment because it's not that big a deal. In terms of glyphs, I find the one that's most that's mandatory is your Glyph of Renewing Mist. It increases the range that Renewing Mist may travel by 20 yards, which means that when it splits off to another person, it will be able to jump to almost anybody within the raid. Next good one is Glyph of Soothing Mist. When you stop channeling Soothing Mist, you gain 60% movement speed for every 1 second that you've spent channeling Soothing Mist. So if I'm channeling this training dummy here, you can see up here in the top corner, I'm healing them, and then when it drops off, I get this. Movement speed increased by 60%, and it's quite noticeable, especially when you have to do some spot healing, and then you have to run away quickly and reposition and then get back into it. It's a great glyph and is very, very useful. Another good glyph is Glyph of Detox, especially when you have to, say you're doing Iskar and you have to purge a bunch of people, if that's your job. Just having the 2 charges, it does increase the cooldown, but again, being able to have 2 charges is pretty gangster. Some people say that Targeted Expulsion is alright, because it can be cast on allies, but the healing is reduced by 50%, and I would much rather just cast it on myself. That way I know I don't have to focus on healing myself. I'm always just getting a little bit of healing. It might overheal if I'm at full health, but at the same time, I just think it has some better advantages. Another great one to use, if you're not using Glyph of Detox, it can be swapped out for Glyph of Surging Mist, which, while in the stance of the Spirit Crane, your Surging Mist no longer requires a target. Instead, it heals a random injured target within 40 yards. Now, this is great because it takes a bit of the guesswork out, especially if you're just focusing on dealing some DPS. You can jump in, start hitting somebody, and then once you get to 5 stacks of Vital Mists, you have this come up. Now, if you don't have the glyph, you have to just cast it on whatever your target is, or mouse over to somebody, or heal yourself. However, with the glyph, it will heal the most injured player within, or a random injured player within 40 yards, which again just takes the guesswork out a little bit of what you're doing, and you can just focus on DPSing. Minor glyphs are practically mostly cosmetic. In WOD we don't get to use Glyph of Zen Flight as much because obviously we don't have flying, but I used to enjoy just floating around on my little Zen cloud, and so I've still got that from when I was playing in Mist of Pandaria. I also have Glyph of Spirit Roll, which means I can roll or Chi Torpedo while dead, which is just nice when you're out and about, but not mandatory at all. and I also have Glyph of Water Roll, which just makes it a little bit easier if I want to roll over the water. There are some glyphs that you should avoid. I was tossing up whether this would be a good glyph, but everything that I've read and watched and looked at have shown that Glyph of Mana Tea is by far the worst glyph, and it's a huge trap for people. Your Mana Tea is instant instead of channeled and consumes 2 stacks when used, but causes a 10-second cooldown. Now that is really bad, because although you could weave it into your rotation, it's far better to just know the fight, know a moment where you've got a bit of time to drink your Mana Tea, drink it, have all your mana back, and Bob's your uncle. Okay, so with stats, what you should be looking for are Spirit to a comfortable level, Intellect obviously, Multi-Strike, and then Crit. Now with Spirit, obviously it just helps your mana regeneration, and it also affects your Mana Tea, because you consume 1 stack of Mana Tea when you channel it, and it restores mana equal to 3 times your unbuffed Spirit. Now, we are one of the only healing classes who have a mana back guarantee in raids, whereas a lot of our other healers have lost those abilities, which, in my opinion, really do make the Mistweaver stand out, especially once you get to a high Spirit level and you can drink 20 stacks of Mana Tea and almost regenerates 70 to 80% of your mana from 0. With Multi-Strike, everyone should know what Multi-Strike does now. It's not that complicated, but it is at the same time. It grants 2 percentage chances to deliver extra attacks or heals for 30% of the normal value. You should be stacking as much Multi-Strike as possible, purely because it will allow you to, if we're just watching this dummy, let's see if it heals. Okay, so there we've got a just normal heal, crit, and there we go, 419. I had 2 multi-strikes off that one tick of Renewing Mist. Crit, obviously, crit is great for healers because it will just increase the healing that you have a chance to double your healing. So if we have another look, there we go, 1,304, multi-strike, normal, and no crit because my crit is so low at the moment. Oh, there we go. There's one. For the rest of your stats, it does go versatility and then haste. Haste does have a better what do you call it? Value. That's the one. Value if you are using Chi Explosion, but we aren't, so let's not worry about that. Now with your Mastery is it can be good, it can be crap. It depends on how you want to play. You might have noticed this ball lying around here. That was one of my Mastery balls. Because our Mastery is that you have a 21% chance, or I do at least, when you heal to summon a healing sphere nearby injured allies for 30 seconds, and then it can either you detonate it with Detonate Chi, or it just detonates when people walk over it, and it will heal them for a certain amount. Now you will notice that when I go through the fist weaving rotation, that I will probably be generating a lot of these balls, because only if I have my stature out, of course, because you're just healing constantly, not for very much, but when I'm doing mobs and using Spinning Crane Kick, I generate a fair few of those, and I can either walk through them to heal myself or just detonate it, and there you go, it actually heals for a decent amount. However, when you're just in Spirit, in Stance of the White Serpent, it's not that big a deal, and I wouldn't focus on it too much. So, let's get into our rotation. One of the most important things about our rotation is actually our multi-strike, because we have Jade Mist, which is you gain 5% more of the multi-strike stat from all sources. So multi-strike, you're getting heaps of it, and not only that, your Renewing Mist and Rising Sun Kick have a chance equal to your multi-strike chance to not go on cooldown when used. and then the next Renewing Mist or Rising Sun kick cannot trigger this. So if I'm in a raid, say an LFR with 25 people, and I've got 3 stacks of Renewing Mist, I can get that onto 9 people. However, with my multi-strike, if any of those stacks happen to reset, I can almost blanket the raid. With my multi-strike being at 21.32%, I've been able to, just in LFRs, completely blanket a raid in conjunction with Thunder Focus Tea, which I'll get into in a minute. So really, you just want to try and blanket the raid with your Renewing Mist as much as you can. Use Expel Harm to generate chi, because your Power Strikes does not work with Renewing Mist, but your Expel Harm does. And then once everyone is covered, use your 2 chi to just use Uplift. Uplift is my favorite ability, and because it heals all targets with your Renewing Mist for a certain amount. And as you guys can see, the only cost it has is 2 chi, very short cast rate, and it doesn't even have a range. So if you have somebody out of range with Renewing Mist on them, you can heal them with your Uplift, no problem. So when I'm in a raid, I'll just blanket the raid, get up to 4 chi, make sure that enough people have Renewing Mist on them. It's really only worth it if 6 people need it, and then I will just start casting Uplift. Then I will use my Expel Harm to generate more chi, and then I will use my Renewing Mist again to build to 2 chi, and as you can see, my Renewing Mist has already reset a few times. Now you might get to this point where you have nothing to do. That is when you want to start channeling Soothing Mist. If there's heavy single target damage, then obviously use Surging Mist and Enveloping Mist, but otherwise just use Soothing Mist as a filler, and then go, as soon as you've back up, you just start pushing out those Renewing Mists, your Expel Harms, and start casting your Uplifts. As you can see, it's quite easy to generate lots of chi, and then just go back to casting Soothing Mist and keep rinsing and repeating. Obviously that's pretty simple. However, there are ways of improving your game, which is, of course, using Thunder Focus Tea, which when you use it, it will either increase your Surging Mist healing by a decent amount, or allows your Renewing Mist to actually have 5 stacks. So if I target myself, I will get 5 stacks of Renewing Mist, and then it will jump to other players. So you can theoretically, even if you don't have any resets on your Renewing Mist, hit 11 people with just 3. And that's really great, because a lot of us are rating smaller sizes these days, maybe 15. If you're hitting 11 people and you don't even get a reset, it's still pretty worth it. What I would say is use Chi Burst on cooldown. You obviously have other abilities such as your Spinning Crane Kick, or in my case I would have had Rushing Jade Wind. You have your Detox, your Life Cocoon, and of course Revival. Revival and probably Touch of Death are my 2 favorite spells that you get as a Mistweaver monk. Revival did get nerfed. It did get a 40-yard range added to it, but it does heal for, in my case, 73k, which is a decent amount, and it's instant, and it's on a 3-minute cooldown. All of these are great reasons why I think Revival almost beats Tranquility. Sometimes I even like to just snipe my Druid's Tranquility by just throwing in a Revival to make sure that he knows that I'm still on top. Last but not least, I'll just touch on Touch of Death. Touch of Death needs 3 chi to be activated, and when you are in, and it will kill something that's either on 10% or less, or something that's on equal health to your health, so your max health, I think. And in Spirited Crane stance, it will also heal somebody for a exuberant amount. I can't do it on this training dummy because it's got too much health, but let me just say that it does heal somebody for about 150k I've seen, and just the uses for Touch of Death and Revival at the moment just make the Mistweaver Monk a standout healing class in the WOD environment. I might do a gameplay video after this, or put in a highlight reel of when to use some of your abilities. However, for this intro guide to the Mistweaver Monk in 6.2, that's me. Hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, hit me up, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.